All right, Bulls and Bears. Hey, thanks for being here. It's Monday, July 5th, 2021. Back with another dose of economic reality. Let's kind of take a step back today. The markets are actually closed. It's a bank holiday technically since the 4th fell yesterday on a Sunday. Banks and markets closed, but it's not going to stop us from talking about the financial system and this economy. And again, I want to take a step back and kind of just remind everybody of the level of manipulation and interference that we're seeing in this economic system, what's being called the economy. Now, the economy is essentially lending and debt and people going out and spending. The more people spend, the more it makes the economy look better on paper. Now, if all these same people that were spending money also were producing things and being active in creating goods and services to be purchased, then you would see some sort of balance. But in this case, we have a lot of people with a lot of money to spend, and in many cases, not producing anything. And even things that are being produced, in most cases, are services. So it's not even anything tangible in the real world. It's services. And for those of you that don't know, we're about a 70% service-based economy. Service sector, meaning the hospitality industry. A lot of people writing on notepads, pushing buttons, talking on phones, but not really producing anything. All right, so let's get into some news. We're going to talk about the automobile sector, the car sales, and the automotive industry. We're also going to take a look at some pretty eye-popping charts, in my opinion, on the overnight repo operations being conducted there into the banking sector. But first, just a quick update. Yesterday, I put out a quick just hello video, and we talked about a few things regarding farming and food and just being thankful for food. But also, I mentioned a rat problem I was having. Now, I think I found the solution and really appreciate everyone that responded to that one. The winner or the direction I went was essential oil. A couple of you mentioned essential oils, in this case, peppermint. Rats and mice, they hate the smell of peppermint. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty good. You can get a bottle of essential oil for less than $10. You put some drops in a spray bottle and you spray it. So I cleaned out my whole car engine where the rats had gotten into. Now, there's a financial lesson in this too. A few years ago, I had some rats get into my engine and chewed up some wires. It was hundreds, I think it was like $700-800 to repair it. So this is a financial lesson for me. But to keep the rats away, this is supposed to work. And I'll check back in a few months and let you know if it worked. Essential oil. You clean the engine. In this case, I also cleaned my grill where rats had also gotten into. Spray the essential oil everywhere, underneath the hood, underneath the cover of the grill, and we'll see if it works. I'm going to check back in a week, see if we see any droppings, check back in a month, and then 3 months and see how long it lasts. And I'll let you know how often I need to reapply it. And to anyone that's ever had a car wire get chewed by rats, you know it's not cheap. And here in California, what a lot of us do is we park outside. We don't use our garage for parking the vehicles, which actually would be a good idea if you can, but we use our garage for other things. I've got my workout area, little workout spot, and a lot of canned goods, a lot of prep items out in my garage. And this is where I record a lot of my videos and where I work from. I work from home now. So my garage is not for parking a car. It's parking outside. Both of my vehicles are parked outside where the rats can get to. Also, don't leave any trash laying around or even in a trash bin on your property because rats can smell that. Enough on the rats. Thanks everybody again for responding. Now, earlier we used the word manipulation and intervention. We've never seen this level of intervention, and people are still expecting this economy somehow, some way to go back to normal. But even before March of 2020, before the Great Sickness, before the shutdown recession began, things were nowhere near normal, right? 20 plus trillion in debt, close to 30 trillion in debt. Having to keep interest rates artificially low so people can borrow more money and be able to afford the payments. Keeping asset prices propped up, including the housing market propped up with continuous mortgage-backed security purchases via the Fed. Pushing mortgage rates lower and lower via the Treasury purchases. And you look at the 10-year bonds and really see an eye of what's happening there. Nothing about this is normal. People with a lot of money to spend, not producing anything, not working, not normal. Just go back in history before the fiat money system. In order to survive, it was pretty simple. You don't work and you don't eat. And what's thrown that all out of whack or out of proportion right now is the monetary system and our system of lending out money, endless amounts of money created out of thin air. And banks love it. They don't have to have any money in reserves. They can loan out money via digits on a screen and then charge you and I interest on that money that the banks actually did nothing to get. Right? Banks don't do any labor and they don't do any real work in order to have this money to loan out. It's simply a stroke of a pen. Someone created the law and put in the system that puts most people in debt for life. And even before the great shutdown in March of 2020, we had most people living paycheck to paycheck. So it's pretty sad that more people aren't paying attention to this. And sometimes the truth is not popular. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. It's going to be a good snapshot of the insanity that's happening right now. This chart goes back to 2013, and over the past 8 or so years, we've never seen this level of intervention. And this is the overnight reverse repo operations via the Fed into the banking system here. And our meme dog here, the one that says everything's fine, even though his house is on fire, he's saying everything's fine. There's nothing to see here. This is completely normal. There's no problems happening. Now, there's a lot of channels out there, or at least a couple good ones that I've seen, that get really into the mechanics of these repo operations. And when I start getting really technical and digging into the inner workings of the banking system, I get a lot of people that don't stay tuned. They kind of tune out. So I'm not really going to go into much detail, but here's all you need to know. Look at this chart and ask yourself, does everything seem normal here? Is everything fine? Or are there some big flaws being masked over, being covered up via what's happening right now in the overnight repo markets? Right? If everything was fine, don't manipulate it. Just take a step back, let things operate as they will. Let true market fundamentals come back into play. Real supply, real demand. You don't work, you don't eat. Right? Basics that we had before. Well, right around 1913 is when things really started falling apart. When the value of the dollar really started dropping. And when we saw a massive uptick in volatility, boom and bust cycles. Because of the manipulation. When you have manipulation, and you have some individuals, a few people, I don't think anyone knows exactly how many people are behind these scenes, holding the strings or making the decisions. But to sum it up right now, there's a few people controlling millions and billions, actually billions of people, and the economy that we all have to live in. Okay, next, let's take a look at this chart here. This was put out by Bloomberg. It's a Bank of America global investment strategy chart. And Bank of America is very dire on their analysis and on their warnings for the economy. And what do we see here? Retail sales in the light blue surged, and most of you know this, surged when non-farm payrolls and payrolls in general collapsed and still haven't recovered. So we have a collapsing workforce here, still not recovered when we look at the payrolls, but yet retail sales surging. This should not happen in a non-funny money economy, in a non-fiat currency system where endless amounts of money cannot be created out of thin air. You see retail sales collapse and prices collapse along with the labor market. Right? So everything's backwards, twisted, upside down, inside out, whatever you want to call it. Twilight zone. But this is where we're at. So the question is, when will it end? Now on this channel, we try to stay away from making definite timeline predictions. I've said things here and there, like I think this is going to happen, that's going to happen within this month, that month, the next few months. And so far, we've been just about right on everything. We told you that massive price increases were coming, supply shortages, and we've seen it just about everywhere. The prices of automobiles, the chip shortage, supply chain disruptions, massive amounts of money being thrown at the problem, which actually makes the problems worse. The problem is affordability. People are not making enough money to afford the items that they need, including housing, food. And the more money you throw at it, the higher prices go. and it makes the problem bigger and creates the need for even more money to be thrown at the problem. So no, I don't think that they're going to be able to get rid of the eviction moratorium. If they do, things are going to get real ugly real quick, and you're going to see millions of people on the streets. So I don't think that's going to happen. Again, I'm not making predictions. I don't think they're going to allow that to happen, because that will make the people behind the scenes making these decisions, controlling all of this money, it's going to make these people look really, really bad. Right? So imagine being out there saying the economy is recovering, everything's getting better, we're in this amazing recovery, all the lawmakers, they're doing such a good job, and then all of a sudden you see 10 to 20 million people get thrown onto the streets, the homeless shelters are filled up, tent cities popping up everywhere. That wouldn't work. So I don't think the intervention is going to stop, as far as even in the banking system, in the laws. Even the normal tenant-landlord relationship has been thrown out the window, right? When you can no longer kick people out and move people in that can pay their rent if you're a landlord, that's a big problem. Now, if they allow these moratoriums to expire, and you might see some true price discovery, you'd probably see rents drop, because only people that could pay the rent would actually be into these houses or apartments, and you would see prices come down because it would be based on what people can actually afford to pay. So let's take a look at a chart out of Richter, actually wolfstreet.com, Wolf Richter's website. New vehicle sales actually dropping. We saw the big drop initially, the Great Recession, the Great Sickness there, March 2020. Then we saw the spike up beyond anything we had seen here in many, many years, because all of the liquidity and lending and the supply shortage. Well, now we're starting to see it drop back down, much less than the average that we've seen over the past few years. So is something shifting? Is something happening? Well, a big part of it is lack of supply. So just because sales are dropping doesn't mean prices are going to drop. It could just mean lack of inventory. Right, the same thing in the housing market. Prices can go up even when the number of sales go down, because we don't have enough houses compared to the number of people that have money going out to try to purchase this home. Most of the time it's borrowed money or institutional money that's bidding on the home, causing prices to do what? Go higher. You guessed it. So apply the same principle to vehicles. Not enough vehicles for sale, a lot of money being thrown at these cars, chasing after these vehicles. You guessed it, prices continue to rise. All right, we're going to wrap this one up here in just a few minutes, but real quick, looking at this little meme pick right here on this chart for the overnight repo, reverse repo operations, got me in the mood for some memes. Now, to find these funny, you may have to be kind of a financial geek or economic nerd like myself. Well, let's take a look at a couple that made me chuckle just a little bit. All right, now here's one that you have to think about a little bit. This looks like some business people in a meeting room. Let's just say they're bankers. The more money banks loan out, demand then increases, causing higher prices for everyone. Now, this is probably not so funny if it wasn't so true. But imagine these bankers here knowing that what they're loaning out, money they actually don't have, creates more demand and creates higher prices because of the demand, which then increases the need for people to borrow more money. It's simply crazy. But yeah, the bankers are laughing all the way back to themselves, back to their own jobs, laughing all the way to the bank. Next, here's the meme of the everything is fine dog, right? So stop being so doom and gloom. I've heard that 1,000 times. Don't be doom and gloom. Don't be doom and gloom. I'm just reporting the way I see it and showing you charts and talking about what's really happening in the economy. But according to the dog here, everything's fine. I should just look and stare at my cup of coffee. Don't look at what's going on around me. Ignore the house fire. Everything is fine. Stop being doom and gloom, they say. And next, I almost forgot about this one. So you're interested in economic news, but you don't watch Bull Boom Bear Bust on YouTube? Psh, 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 slap, slap. Shame on you. All right. Had a little fun today. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Love you all. Stay well. Keep stacking. Keep preparing. Link down below. Silver still accumulating. The price is still being suppressed on the paper markets, the futures markets. The options are being used to keep the price down. But look at the physical price versus the paper price, and you still have to get silver, in my opinion. Link down below. Keep stacking because this thing is going to get wild. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.